Hello, hello. Welcome to Underthinking, the channel where I don't think I'm always overthinking. I think some people are just underthinking. This is a mindset channel where I just really talk about some topics that I'm curious about, honestly. And if you don't know me, my name is Katie. I do have a travel and lifestyle channel on YouTube as well. And I started this channel recently, literally because I'm just really a curious person and I wanted to talk about mindset and psychology and stuff like that. And so in today's video, I literally want to get your opinion and I want to share my opinion on a sentence or really just like a little phrase that I hear all the time. I hear it all the time. And I'm so curious about why people say it. And that phrase is don't cry. And I hear that phrase all the time. And I wonder why people say it. Okay. So let me know in the comments what you think about why people say that phrase. But I want to share with you guys a couple of my opinions on potentially why some people might say this phrase. And so if you are crying and one of your close friends or family members is with you and they say, oh, don't cry, don't cry. I'm curious if it's out of I care about you, so I don't want you to be sad, because I'm sure that might be part of it. But also I wonder if there's ever a part that's maybe your crying makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to deal with someone who's sad. This is too dramatic for me. Please don't cry. But they say don't cry, hoping that it just comes off as I care about you. I don't want you to be sad. But there's also potentially actually a part of them that's more like, oh, I don't want to deal with this. So I'm just going to say don't cry. You know what I mean? And so I do think that most people okay, here's the thing. I'm a realist. I would not say that I'm a pessimist, but I would also not say that I'm just like the most positive person in the whole world, that everyone always means well, that everyone is the best person, that no one can do any harm. I don't really think that way. I do understand the idea of like erring on the side of positivity, like not assuming that everyone's out to get you or everyone's purposefully being mean. I get that. But I also do kind of believe that even if some people are not purposefully being mean, that sometimes some people just don't even really notice what they're saying. And so they might unintentionally be mean, but I think that if we just think about things before we say them, then we can potentially lessen even unintentional rudeness or being mean or something like that. But also, we all have different opinions. And so sometimes we might say something that we don't think is rude, that we've actually thought about, and we're like, I don't think this is rude, but someone else might think it's rude just because we have different opinions on things. However, I really do think a lot of people say things without thinking about why they're saying it or what it really means, or if the other person actually wants to hear it, or who that other person is. Would it be received well? Stuff like that. I think some people don't think about that kind of stuff. I definitely don't think about that stuff all the time, but I think it's important to think about it as much as we can, because I think communication is arguably a really big deal and a really important part of our lives and how we interact with others. And I think, especially if you have someone close to you, I think it's really good to learn to understand how they like to be communicated with, and not like change your whole personality for someone else. That's not what I mean. But if someone doesn't like a certain word because it bothers them, or if someone reacts, better in a certain situation and when they're sad, stuff like that, I think it's good to learn. If you have a close family member or friend, I think it's good to learn what to do when they're sad. Do they like to be alone? Do they like to receive little gifts? Do they like to watch funny videos? Do they like just someone to listen to them? I think it's good to learn those kind of things. But again, I don't know if everyone really thinks about that kind of stuff. I think it's really common to just think, well, this is how I would like to be helped, so this is how I'm going to help other people, without really realizing, well, we're all different. And so it might be good to learn when we can, especially if it's someone close to us, how they might want to be talked to, especially in, sad or scary situations. And so the whole term don't cry, I'm sure a lot of people have good intentions. Oh, don't cry because crying means you're sad. And I don't want you to be sad, So I get that. And honestly, I hope that that's why most people say it. But I don't like that phrase anyway. Even if someone means it well, or if they mean it, oh, don't cry, because secretly it makes me uncomfortable. Whether they mean it that way or don't cry, I don't want you to be sad, I still don't love that phrase. And again, just my opinion. I'm just sharing my opinions on this channel, and I would love to hear yours as well in a kind way if we can. I hope we can all respect each other in the comments. But yeah, the reason that I don't love that phrase in general is because I don't believe that crying is a bad thing. I don't believe that crying is a bad thing. I think that crying can be helpful. I think that crying can literally just be something that is like forced out of our bodies because we are so upset, so angry, so frustrated, so sad. And so I understand, again, if someone close to you is like, don't cry, because in reality, what they mean to say is, I'm so sorry that something is hurting you this badly. But just saying the phrase don't cry, if we're just actually taking that phrase out of any context, I think sometimes it can, again, my opinion, can sometimes kind of sometimes kind of come across as dismissive or come across as, I just want to deal with your crying. I don't want to deal with anything deeper. And also, like, can, again, come across as a little selfish. And again, I'm just saying sometimes can. I really try to choose my words carefully. I'm not saying always does. I'm saying sometimes can. So if I'm crying and someone says don't cry, part of me wants to kind of respond being like, well, I am crying. Maybe I need to cry. Maybe crying is helpful right now. Maybe I can't even help it. Maybe it's something that is so like forced out of me that I can't even help it. Or maybe it will help that I am crying. Maybe it'll help in 10 minutes. Maybe I'll feel a little bit better when I cry. Maybe it's a coping mechanism for some people, or just something that some people do to release some of that negative emotion that they're feeling, you know? One of the reasons that I have this channel is that I hope that we all together can admit when we're wrong, admit when we're doing something that we might need to change, admit when we messed up, admit, you know what, I used to think that, but now I'm thinking something differently. And I want to do the same thing. I'm not telling you guys these things just so I hope that you change your mind, but I'm also hoping to talk about these things that maybe I will learn something out of me talking about it, but also hearing your comments. You know, that's why I hope that we can be kind in the comments, because I hope that we can all learn from each other. And whether we change our minds or not, I still hope that we can just have kind conversations. And so sometimes when I bring up phrases like this, and I'm going to do this semi-often because there are a lot of phrases that are pretty common, but that I don't always think that common means healthy or common means good. I think sometimes common just means common. And so, for example, don't cry. I don't know if it is always something that is healthy or helpful. Maybe it is. And because also here's the thing. Maybe you are the kind of person who loves hearing that because to you, it does feel like the other person cares, or it does help you kind of calm down in a certain way or realize what's going on in a certain way. Maybe it does help you feel comforted. Maybe it does. But I am just thinking from my personal experience of when I hear that phrase, I'm kind of like, but the person is crying. Maybe they're sad. What are you telling them to not be sad? Are you just blowing it off? Are you just trying to act like what they're going through doesn't matter, or that they don't deserve to cry or something like that, you know? And again, I'm not saying that everyone's like that. I'm just saying that I wonder if that ever happens. I wonder if sometimes that is what people are saying, that they're kind of just diminishing it, or they're just kind of say, don't cry, you're fine. You know, that's another thing too. You're fine, you're all right, don't cry. But maybe the person's not all right. Maybe the person is going through something that they really have to figure out, not just put a Band-Aid on, or figure out, not just blow off, or figure out, not just ignore. Because I know a lot of people do ignore their emotions, or do ignore when there are bad things going on because they're comfortable, or because they just don't want to deal with it. Because it's so interesting. We can be comfortable when something's bad. Isn't that interesting? That's another topic though, but still. So yeah, the don't cry thing. I do think some people really, really mean it with good intentions, but also just because we have good intentions does not mean that the action will still come across good, you know? And so again, I specifically think that when we are close with someone, it's good to learn what they need in a situation like that. But I'm just curious. I'm curious. Going back to the whole, like, I hope that we can all be honest and admit sometimes when we're wrong. I'm curious if any of us can admit that we have said don't cry to someone because in reality, we just did not want to deal with their problem. I'm curious. I don't know if I have, but my memory is also really, really bad. So I'm not going to say I definitely haven't. But I just know at least now, at least in more recent years, you know, like if someone's crying, I at least know that I don't want to say don't cry, but I also know that it might be like an initial reaction. Someone's crying, oh no, don't cry, don't cry. I understand it might be like your initial reaction because maybe you do want to help. Or maybe you want the situation to kind of just be better for them. Or again, maybe you don't want to deal with it at all. But yeah, I'm just curious about your opinion on this. I wanted to make this into like a short little video because really I just wanted to like hear your opinion and just kind of share that maybe this is a common phrase, but also maybe we all are thinking about it right now and it's like, oh wait, is that something that's actually good to say? Or, oh, you know what? No, when I say it, I actually do mean it out of care. But is it still something that's helpful to the people that you're saying it to? I just thought it was an interesting topic. So I just wanted to bring it up really quickly. But yeah, so please let me know in the comments what you think about this idea, what you think about this phrase, if you say it often, and if you do say it, what do you actually mean? And please, I want us to be as brutally honest as possible. Of course, whatever we feel safe sharing. I'm not saying we have to share everything, but there are going to be some times on this channel where I, or potentially you as well, might even throughout while we're writing something or talking about something, we might be like, wait a minute, hold on. Do I actually believe that? Or am I just making an excuse to stay the same? Or did that really happen that way? Or was I just angry? You know, like I want us to be able to be honest with ourselves. That's a lot of this channel. Being honest with ourselves and with other people can be so hard because sometimes we just kind of want to fit in or be like other people or not admit our faults, not work on ourselves, not admit the hard things because we don't want to have to deal with the consequences of our actions, But if we do deal with the consequences, we will grow as a person and learn, and we will be able to just become better versions of ourselves. And so, it's like, I'm curious, do you ever say don't cry to someone because you're actually thinking this is making me uncomfortable? I don't want to deal with this. I don't have time for this right now. I'm curious. Again, I'm not accusing you. I'm not saying this happens all the time, but I'm just curious if that's what sometimes people mean. But I'm sure most people have good intentions, but again, could there be a better way of handling that? Because even if you have good intentions, it does not mean that your action always is going to end up being good. But is there just a better thing to say instead of don't cry? I'm curious. Like, if someone said that to you, does it bother you? Does it feel diminishing to you? Because it kind of feels diminishing to me. But again, that does not mean that the person means to be diminishing, but I just am feeling that way. But I'm just curious what you think about this. Do you say it? Do you like when people say it to you? Do you dislike it? All that kind of stuff. I'm just curious. So let me know in the comments so we can all chat together. But yeah, I guess that's going to be it. I really hope that you're subscribed for a lot of these kind of mindset chats. But yeah, I guess that's going to be it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye.